2009, when I applied for a long-term care insurance, and I was a guy who always went to the doctor, went for yearly physicals, etc. I found out that I had, and I was shocked, that I had end-stage kidney disease because my creatinine was over 2. That was in 2009. And then I did what most people do, or a lot of people do. I entered into a state of denial that I really didn't need a kidney. But around 2011 or 2011, my regular doctors persuaded me that I should go see a nephrologist. I resisted for a long time because when I asked my regular doctor, what's a nephrologist going to do for me if I have end-stage kidney disease, and he basically said nothing, because there's nothing they can do, once your kidney develops end-stage kidney disease. So I went to nephrologist 2011, 2012, and in the fall of 2012, the nephrologist told me that I probably was going to be on dialysis within 6 to 12 months, which was completely crushing at that point. What happened then was, I had to get educated in what you had to do to get a kidney. And I really didn't have a live donor other than a cousin who was interested in donating for one day, and properly so, changed his mind, because although I liked him, I would not have given him a kidney if I could have. So I started going to the various hospitals to get on their list for deceased donor kidneys. At that point, which was probably the end of 2012, someone I knew had seen an ad for renewal in a suburban Jewish newspaper, I think in Westchester. And it was one of the ads, a tombstone ad, probably shouldn't have used that expression, which had renewal on it. You've probably seen these ads, my father needs a kidney, help him get a kidney so he can attend my son's bar mitzvah, that kind of an ad. So I saw the ad, I looked at the website, and I asked my nephrologist at Hackensack Hospital here in New Jersey, did he know anything about renewal? And frankly, I was surprised that he didn't, because A, he was Jewish, and B, he was from New York, and C, he was a nephrologist. And I would thought that if anyone knew about an organization that could help you get a kidney, it would be a nephrologist. So I kind of forgot about it. I started going to the various hospitals, getting on their list, and I learned that there were geographic regions for being on the list, so that if you went to New York Presbyterian, Weill Cornell, and got on their list, that was the same list as Montefiore, because it was a New York list. You get educated pretty quickly on this. So I went to Yale, I went to Johns Hopkins, I went to St. Barnabas here in New Jersey, which is the largest kidney center in New Jersey, and I went to Weill Cornell in New York. And when I went to Weill Cornell, and I had forgotten about renewal entirely, I'd just written it off. Because I figured if my nephrologist didn't know about this charity, it had to be a scam, or it wasn't legitimate, or whatever. When I went to Weill Cornell, which I don't remember in the general scheme of things what number it was in the 4 hospitals. I had learned by then that depending on which hospital it was, there were different waits to get a kidney. It seemed pretty impossible to get a deceased donor kidney in either New Jersey or New York. Johns Hopkins seemed promising. They were saying their wait was 1.5 years or 2 years or something like that. But when I went to Weill Cornell, all these hospitals have the same program, where you go there, you see there's an initial program, either a film or a PowerPoint about what kidney donation's about. Then you have to see the insurance people, you have to see the social worker, you see a nephrologist, and ultimately you see the kidney transplant surgeon. And by an absolute coincidence, the person who was on duty that day was Dr. Sandy Kapoor, who's the head guy at Weill Cornell, who's an Indian American guy, who is like the Jackie Mason joke that this doctor is so big no one ever gets to see him. That's who this guy is. He's always on TV, he's always in the media. And I asked him, I took a stab. I said, do you know anything about a Hasidic charity named Renewal? And I figured he was going to say no, because my nephrologist here in Hackensack Hospital didn't know. And he said to me, I was trying to figure out if you were Jewish, because whenever people come through here who I think are Jewish or are apparently Jewish, I always suggest they go to Renewal. And he told me that he had done 25 transplants himself in whatever year that was, 2013, where Renewal supplied the donors. So I said, well, that sounds really promising. So my wife and I went to New York. We went through their program. We talked to the rabbis. I talked to Rabbi Steinmetz. He explained the program to me, that there was a list, that they controlled the list. We left. I said, listen, there's no way I'm ever going to get a kidney from Renewal. They control the list. They decide who gets a kidney. And why are they going to give me, an assimilated Jew from the suburbs in New Jersey, a kidney when they can give it to someone in their own community? And I kind of forgot about it. So in the meantime, we're now talking about the first quarter of 2013. So I had gone to all these other hospitals, to the 4 hospitals. I was doing whatever you have to do in their program to stay on the list, which basically is you either have to send them blood every month or go there and give blood every month so they can keep testing you. And I was going to my nephrologist here at Hackensack University Medical Center, Dr. Wiseman, and every month I'm getting worse. My kidney function is getting worse. Because remember, they told me in the fall of 2012, in maybe 6 months, or a year, or by the end of 2013 at best, I'm going to be on dialysis, which was really the last thing I ever wanted to do. And there was no history at all of kidney disease in my family. And I couldn't believe that I had kidney disease. It was kind of, why me? Now I'm on the list. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do in order to get a kidney. And the way it works is, if they have a kidney for you, Johns Hopkins was great, but they always call you at 1 o'clock in the morning and wake you up out of a dead sleep, and they tell you, we have a kidney that you might be interested in, and then the drill is you ask them, well, tell me about the kidney. But there's always something with these kidneys. The donor's 50 years old, but he's smoked for 35 years. Or the donor is 22 years old and they died in a motorcycle accident and they're a heroin addict. There was always an issue with the kidneys, because at 1 o'clock in the morning you're supposed to decide, probably no one ever told you this story, that 1 o'clock in the morning you're supposed to decide whether you want to get in your car and drive 225 miles to Johns Hopkins, knowing that they've called 10 other people because they're not going to waste this kidney, and that you're going to get there and it's kind of either you're going to get it or someone else is, depending on how good a match it is. So finally, around, I would say March or April of 2014, remember, I was supposed to be on dialysis at the end of 2013. My kidney function now is about 12 or 13%. And when you get down to 10%, that's when you have to start dialysis. And by now, I really feel like crap, which I wouldn't admit it, but I really did. But I'm still going to work every day, leading my life. So around March or April of 2014, they tell me, you know what, we're going to try to find you a better kidney than the ones we've been offering you, because they liked me. And I said, okay, great, fine with me. So then, how did I get this kidney? This is a good story. I usually only tell the black and white version of the story, not the long version. So in April of 2014, 2 days before my mother died, I get a call from Weill Cornell. This is April 22nd, as a matter of fact, 2014. I get a call from Weill Cornell. Hello, I'm so-and-so from Weill Cornell. I'm one of the coordinators, and I handle live donors. And I knew this wasn't my coordinator because I knew who my coordinator was. And the woman tells me that Renewal found the kidney for me. I was so flabbergasted by this call. I actually asked her, I said, listen, I'm going to hang up. Here's my direct dial number. Could you please call me back? Because I wanted to make sure this was legitimate. And she tells me that they have that Renewal found the kidney for me. This is before Renewal even called me. Then I talked to Renewal and they said they had a kidney. So I went in for more testing. And it was interesting because the day that I was there, when I signed in at Weill Cornell, there was a column with my name and my donor, and a woman's name was next to me as my donor. And she was there that day. And I saw her, and I didn't know what to do because I didn't know what the protocol was. Do I talk to her? Do I not talk to her? So I decided not to talk to her. I thought that was probably the smartest thing to do. So I actually saw my donor because we were both being tested the same day. And a month later, I had the transplant. And I had Dr. Kapoor, which is a complete coincidence, who did the operation, who is, like the Jackie Mason joke, the doctor that's so big no one gets to see him. So that's how I got my kidney. On the day of my operation, the Renewal guys asked me, did I want to meet her? And I said, and I remember I was sitting in the room. I had an IV in my arm. I had on the gown because they were going to operate, and they brought her into the room. And what do you say? So I said to her, there's absolutely nothing that I could say which could ever thank you enough for this. And she said to me, I'll never forget this. She said, this is a gift from Hashem to you through me. And I didn't say anything because I really couldn't think of anything to say. After I had the transplant, I asked her on the telephone, I said, this is a pretty amazing story, is what led you to donate? Why would you donate to a complete stranger? She was really nice, by the way. And she told me that she saw an ad in an Orthodox Jewish newspaper in Brooklyn that a kid who was maybe 5 years old needed a kidney. And obviously they had a picture of a really cute kid who needed a kidney. And she told me that she had been motivated for a while to donate. And when she saw this kid's picture, it really encouraged her to donate. And she went through all the testing, but she was pretty big. She was about 5'10". And the doctors determined that her kidney was too big for this child. And Renewal asked her, do you still want to donate? And she said, yeah, I do. And I'll donate to whoever you decide off the list. And out of I think there were 282 people on the list, and I was the best match for this kidney. So I had decided that I'd used up all my luck for the rest of my life when I got this kidney. There's an interesting story about what happened after I got my kidney. Now, remember I told you that I went to Yale, Johns Hopkins, Weill Cornell, which is Cornell Medical School, and St. Barnabas, which is the #1 kidney hospital in New Jersey. And they did every test you could ever imagine on me. I remember that at Weill Cornell, they took 22 vials of blood, and it was just because I counted them. And it was the same everywhere. So there was always a history of heart disease in my family. My father had his first heart attack when he was in his 40s, in the 1960s, which was really the dark ages compared to now in terms of cardiac care. So I was always concerned that I was going to have a heart problem because that was the heredity. So I had my kidney transplant in May of 2014, and in February of 2015, and remember, everyone tested me for everything, I find out that I have really bad heart disease. I have an angiogram, and I'm going to need a quintuple bypass. Now, if any of these other hospitals, had discovered that, I never would have gotten this kidney, because I would have had to have the bypass first, because they wouldn't have operated on me with my heart. So I guess we should pick the story up after that, after I had the quintuple bypass. Obviously, Renewal got me a kidney. So they certainly added significant value to me. Also, and I want to be clear on this because everyone is always skeptical of this. No one ever asked me for money to make a donation, ever. No one even hinted that you're expected to give money, that you're expected to contribute to Renewal. There wasn't one word, there wasn't one hint about that because I knew it was illegal. But obviously, after you have a transplant, how can you not donate money? I mean, they gave me my life back. I mean, I have a normal life now. I get to go to work every day. I'm going to South America to a convention in October. My wife and I just came back from another lawyers' convention in Spain. You know, we have a house in Florida we go to. My grandchildren live 9 miles away from me. I mean, I have a normal life. Other than, you know, I go to I go to see a nephrologist once a month, but that's really my choice.